Stop for a moment and listen carefully, because what I'm about to share may be one of the most important pieces of health information you hear all year. I'm not saying that just to sound dramatic. I'm saying it because most doctors, and even many cancer specialists, still are not having this conversation with patients over 50. Not because the science isn't there, but because the answer doesn't come in a prescription bottle. I'm BioBoost, a vascular biologist, cancer researcher, and author. And for more than 25 years, I've studied what truly helps prevent cancer at the cellular level. And what I found, supported by a major 2022 study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health that followed more than 116,000 adults over 28 years, is that one specific group of everyday habits can reduce overall cancer risk in adults over 50 by up to 61%. That's not a supplement. That's not chemotherapy. That's lifestyle. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most powerful parts of that daily pattern, ranked from helpful to absolutely life-changing, so that by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to start doing tomorrow morning. And let me tell you this now, because the number one habit on this list is something nearly 90% of people over 60 are doing wrong. According to the science, fixing that one thing alone could slash cancer risk dramatically. So don't skip ahead. Stay to the end, because each habit builds on the one before it. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. In the comments, tell me your age, and tell me this too. Has a doctor ever actually sat down with you and talked about preventing cancer, not just detecting it? I read every comment on BioBoost, and what you share truly shapes what I cover next. So please take a few seconds and let me know. Now let's begin with number 5. The 5th habit is something most people dismiss because it feels too simple to matter, but overlooking it may be more dangerous than people realize. I'm talking about morning hydration, specifically drinking 16 to 20 ounces of cold or room temperature filtered water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before breakfast, before checking your phone. That may sound basic, but the biology behind it is powerful, especially as we get older. After about age 55, something called thirst sensitivity begins to decline. In simple terms, your brain becomes less effective at telling you when you actually need water. A 2019 study from the University of Barcelona found that adults over 60 often function at 8 to 12% below ideal cellular hydration without even feeling thirsty. Why does that matter for cancer? Because your lymphatic system, which acts like the body's internal cleanup network, depends heavily on water. It helps remove cellular waste and damaged DNA fragments. When you're dehydrated, that cleanup process slows down. Damaged cells build up. Inflammation rises, and chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as one of the major forces behind the beginning of cancer, especially in the colon, bladder, and kidneys. The Harvard Nurses' Health Study found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water a day had a 45% lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank 2 or fewer. That is a striking result for something that costs almost nothing. Hydration also helps support autophagy, which is your cell's internal recycling and cleanup process. Think of it like a repair crew inside each cell, clearing away damaged parts before they can become harmful. After age 65, autophagy efficiency drops significantly, but proper hydration has been shown to help support it. Here's how to do it. Keep a large glass of filtered water near your bed. The moment you get up, drink it before anything else. If you want, add fresh lemon. Lemon contains compounds with their own protective effects. And here's a simple way to make this habit even better. Pair it with 10 minutes of gentle movement, even if it's just walking around your house. Light movement helps stimulate lymphatic flow and increases the cleansing effect. That's number 5, and it creates the foundation. But what you add next may be even more powerful. Number 4 is a category of foods eaten for centuries in some of the longest living populations in the world. For years, Western medicine largely ignored them. Today, they've become the focus of a huge amount of cancer prevention research. I'm talking about fermented foods, especially naturally fermented options, like plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso. In 2021, a major Stanford study published in the journal Cell found that adults who ate diets high in fiber and fermented foods developed greater microbiome diversity and had measurable drops in 19 inflammatory proteins, several of which are directly linked to cancer progression. This becomes especially important after 50 because the gut changes with age. After about 60, the intestinal lining often becomes more permeable, a condition many people call leaky gut. That allows bacterial toxins to enter the bloodstream and trigger widespread inflammation. And inflammation can act like fertilizer for precancerous cells. I once worked with a 67-year-old patient named Margaret from Asheville, North Carolina. She had elevated inflammatory markers, constant fatigue, and a strong family history of colorectal cancer. Her diet looked healthy overall, but she was eating zero fermented foods. We added 2 daily servings, kefir in the morning and a small serving of sauerkraut at lunch. Within 3 months, her CRP, a major marker of inflammation, had dropped by 38%. Her gastroenterologist was shocked. Margaret said it was the first time in years she felt like herself again. One of the reasons fermented foods matter so much is because they help beneficial gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. Butyrate has a very important role in the colon. It helps signal damaged or precancerous cells to self-destruct before they can cause harm. Think of it as a quiet protective mechanism that removes risky cells before they become a real problem. Aim for 1 to 2 servings of naturally fermented foods each day. Make sure they are not pasteurized because heat kills the live cultures you need. Look for labels that say live and active cultures. And for even better results, combine fermented foods with prebiotic-rich foods like garlic, leeks, or slightly underripe bananas. Prebiotics feed the healthy bacteria and help them do their job more effectively. That's number 4. Strong on its own, but number 3 is where the science gets truly impressive. And if this is helping you so far, this is a great time to subscribe to BioBoost and like the video. Every week I share evidence-based health information for adults over 50, and your support makes that possible. Now, number 3. You've heard of this before, but probably not explained in the way that actually matters for cancer prevention. I'm talking about daily walking, but not just casual strolling. I'm talking about what researchers call metabolic walking. And the difference between a slow walk and the right kind of moderate walking may be the difference between supporting health and actively creating an environment where cancer struggles to survive. Your body runs mainly on 2 fuels, glucose and oxygen. Cancer cells, because of a metabolic pattern first described by Otto Warburg and supported by decades of research, depend heavily on glucose and are far less effective at using oxygen. That means when you do sustained moderate exercise, the kind that raises your heart rate to about 55 to 70% of its maximum, 2 things happen at once. You lower circulating glucose, which reduces the fuel cancer cells prefer, and you flood tissues with oxygen-rich blood, which creates conditions that are far less friendly to cancer. A large 2020 meta-analysis from the American Cancer Society looked at data from 1.4 million adults and found that regular moderate physical activity was associated with a 42% lower risk of colon cancer, a 38% lower risk of breast cancer, and a 27% lower risk of lung cancer, even among non-smokers. Those are extraordinary numbers for something that doesn't require a prescription. This matters even more after 65 because your mitochondria, the tiny energy generators inside your cells, decline in both number and efficiency as you age. Mitochondrial dysfunction is now considered a key driver of both aging and cancer progression. Moderate sustained walking is one of the few habits shown to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, which means it actually signals your body to make new healthy mitochondria. Metabolic walking means 30 to 45 minutes of continuous walking at a pace where you can still talk, but singing would feel difficult. Try to do it at least 5 days a week. Morning is ideal, especially before your first full meal, because fasted movement enhances the glucose-lowering effect. I want to tell you about Robert, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Portland, Oregon. He came to me after a cancer scare. A precancerous polyp had been removed during a routine colonoscopy. He was frightened, and he wasn't exercising at all. We started with a morning walking routine, 35 minutes, 5 days a week, along with a few diet changes. At his 2-year follow-up colonoscopy, everything was clear. His oncologist pointed to his improved inflammatory markers and called his recovery exceptional. Robert told me that walking had started to feel like medicine, and in many ways it is. To make this habit even more powerful, Pair your morning walk with the hydration habit from number 5, and if possible, walk outside in natural morning light. Morning sunlight helps regulate your circadian rhythm, which affects immune surveillance, your body's ability to detect and remove abnormal cells. Those two habits together are far stronger than either one alone. Number 3 is remarkable, but the next two are where the science becomes truly game changing. Number 2 is a compound found in a specific family of vegetables, and the evidence behind its cancer fighting effects in older adults is some of the most compelling I've seen in decades of research. I'm talking about sulforaphane, a powerful bioactive compound found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and especially broccoli sprouts. Here's why this matters so much as we age. In 2018, researchers at Johns Hopkins University showed that sulforaphane activates a master protective pathway called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the chief defender of your DNA. When activated, it turns on more than 200 protective genes involved in detoxification, antioxidant defense, and the repair of damaged DNA before that damage can turn into cancer. And here's why this is urgent after 50. NRF2 activity naturally declines with age. In other words, one of your key DNA repair systems slowly becomes less active. Sulforaphane helps turn that system back on. Studies have linked regular intake of sulforaphane-rich foods with significantly lower risks of bladder and prostate cancer, along with improvements in markers connected to breast and lung cancer. Even more impressive, research suggests sulforaphane may target cancer stem cells, the especially dangerous cells that often survive conventional treatment and are responsible for recurrence. You can think of cancer stem cells as the leaders of the army. If they survive, the disease can rebuild. Sulforaphane appears to go after those leaders. But here's the detail most people miss. Sulforaphane is not sitting there in active form inside broccoli. It's created when the vegetable is chopped or chewed, which activates an enzyme called myrosinase. The problem is that high heat destroys that enzyme. So when broccoli is fully cooked, it may contain very little active sulforaphane. The best preparation method is simple. Chop or lightly crush broccoli or broccoli sprouts and let them sit for about 40 minutes before eating or lightly steaming. That gives the chemical reaction time to happen. Then steam for only a few minutes. Raw broccoli sprouts don't need cooking at all, and they contain dramatically more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. Aim for about half a cup of raw broccoli sprouts daily or a full cup of lightly prepared broccoli. And here's an important bonus tip. Combine cruciferous vegetables with a small amount of raw mustard seed powder or raw radish. Both contain active myrosinase and can help restore the enzyme activity lost during cooking, which increases sulforaphane availability. That's number 2. Powerful, practical, and deeply supported by science. But now we come to number 1, the single most important daily habit for cancer prevention after 50, and the one most preventive health conversations still fail to emphasize enough. Number 1 is sleep. But I don't just mean getting some sleep, I mean the timing and quality of sleep that activates your body's deepest anti-cancer systems. The research on what happens when this is disrupted is genuinely alarming. During deep, slow-wave sleep, the brain activates the glymphatic system, a recently discovered waste-clearing network that uses cerebrospinal fluid to flush toxic proteins and cellular debris from the brain and nervous system. Think of it like a deep cleaning cycle that only happens at night when everything else shuts down. But the cancer connection goes even further. During those same deep sleep stages, your body produces its highest levels of melatonin. And melatonin is far more than a sleep hormone. It is one of the most powerful natural antioxidants your body makes. Research shows that melatonin can help block tumor angiogenesis, meaning it interferes with cancer's ability to build the blood supply it needs to grow. It also boosts natural killer cells, the immune cells whose job is to identify and destroy cancer cells before they take hold. Here's the difficult reality. Melatonin production drops sharply with age. By the time many adults reach their 60s and 70s, production is a fraction of what it once was. That means one of your strongest built-in anti-cancer defenses is no longer functioning at full capacity. This is why sleep disruption matters so much. In fact, night shift work, which chronically disrupts circadian rhythm and sleep architecture, has been classified by cancer researchers as a probable human carcinogen. That's how serious the connection is. I once worked with Eleanor, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Scottsdale, Arizona. She was sleeping only 5 to 6 hours a night and waking frequently. Her immune testing showed very low natural killer cell activity. We worked on a sleep reset, a consistent 10 p.m. Bedtime, total darkness in the room, temperature lowered to 67 degrees, no screens for 90 minutes before bed, and a small amount of tart cherry juice in the evening for its natural melatonin-supporting compounds. Within 6 weeks, she was sleeping 7.5 hours consistently. At her 3-month follow-up, her natural killer cell activity had improved dramatically. She told me she hadn't slept that well since her 40s. The evidence is clear. Adults over 60 who regularly get 7 to 8.5 hours of sleep in a dark, cool environment have much lower cancer mortality rates than those sleeping under 6 hours. This is not a minor factor, this is a master switch. If you want to improve sleep for cancer protection, do these things consistently. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Make your room completely dark, because even small amounts of light suppress melatonin. Keep the bedroom cool, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And avoid eating within 3 hours of bedtime, because digestion competes with the repair work your body needs to prioritize overnight. And here's the best way to strengthen this habit even more. Combine better sleep with morning sunlight from habit number 3. Morning light anchors your circadian rhythm and directly improves melatonin production later that night. Together, those habits create a biological environment where cancer has a much harder time taking hold. All the studies mentioned in this video are linked below. I encourage you to read them, share them with your doctor, and ask the questions that short appointments often leave unanswered. And here's what I want to leave you with. You are not too old for prevention. Science does not stop working because you reached a certain age. Whether you're 55 or 85, whether you've already had a cancer scare or never thought about this before, your body still has an extraordinary ability to repair, defend, and regenerate when you give it the right conditions. These 5 habits, morning hydration, daily fermented foods, metabolic walking, sulforaphane-rich cruciferous vegetables, and restorative sleep, are not extreme protocols. They are the conditions your biology was built to thrive in. They cost very little, they require no prescription, and every morning gives you another chance to begin. Your independence, your energy, your quality of life, and your ability to stay present for the people you love, all of that is worth a glass of water, a daily walk, and a consistent bedtime. Don't let anyone tell you it's too late. The research says otherwise, and so do I. If this video helped you, subscribe to BioBoost and share it with someone you care about. Every week, we go this deeply into the science of aging well, and your support makes that work possible. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 habits are you starting with first? And what has been the biggest obstacle to getting good sleep? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one.